Hi everybody, hope you all are doing well today. This video is all about what I call cottage country Christmas. I've done several upcycles, thrift flips, DIYs that I hope you'll enjoy, and if you do, please give me a thumbs up. I would greatly appreciate that. Subscribe if you haven't already. Definitely comment. I love your comments. They really keep me going, guys. I really appreciate it. Anyway, that's what this video is all about, and I hope you enjoy it. There'll be a Winston update later on in the video, so hang tight for that. But first off, we have project number 1. These are those tin tiles, faux tin tiles that you get from the Dollar Tree. And I have 2 wood cutouts that I bought off of Amazon of little mittens. And I have just placed them on the tile so that I can go ahead and cut them out. And now I just did a kind of a rough cutout, and now I'm going to go ahead and glue the tiles to the cutout, the wood cutout, and I'm using my CA glue, which is basically a super glue with an accelerant, and I just place that on there, and I'm going to go ahead and put the spray on there. I'm not using hot glue because these things can melt, so I don't want to melt them. So I'm going to go ahead and just spray that on, and it's an instant hold, and I'd rather use that than the hot glue on these because my hot glue is really hot, and I did it one time and it kind of melted the plastic. So if you can't get these tiles, I have gotten wallpaper similar to this. I also know they sell similar type tiles at Hobby Lobby, and also you can get that kind of stuff at Home Depot or Lowe's or any of the home improvement stores. So after I glue those on, I'm going to go ahead and cut those out. Just basic, they're easy to cut out. Just cut around them, and then we're going to go on to the next step. So now I am taking Fusion's Oakum. It is basically kind of a dark brown color. I love this color it's got a really good neutral, and I'm going to go ahead and go over this just basically kind of like 1.5 coats really. Fusion has a primer in it and a top coat, so I don't have to do anything after it. I am dried it with the heat gun, but be really careful because you can melt this plastic real easy. I'm going to do the back. Anytime you do this, any type of thin wood like that, you definitely want to do the back so it doesn't warp. And now I am doing some dry brushing with the fan brush, and dry brushing is where you put very little paint on. And I'm going over the tops of these with Raw Silk by Fusion. And I'm just going to kind of less is more. You want to start out with a little and then add more later. And I'm just basically trying to cover most of it, but I want that dark oakum to show through to give it kind of a vintage look. And I will just be grabbing more paint as I go. I just have it on a piece of parchment, and I like using a fan brush because it's very easy to just skim the top that way. And I'm going to go back and add a little bit more until I get it to the point that I like it. And now I'm just going to go ahead and do the back, and I'm just going to dry brush it and let a little of the oakum show through. I just like to make the backs always look good too. I mean, this is something that could hang in a tree, or you could put it in a wreath, or whatever you want to do with them. I think they're super cute when they're done. You could make a bunch of these. They came in a pack of, I don't know, like 10 or something. So You could do them all different ways, but I just thought this would be a fun way to do them. So now I have this material that was at one time my little Beau's bed when he was a little tiny puppy, and or blanket really, and I had washed it a bunch of times, and I'm cutting it apart because I like this material because I think it'd look cool on the mittens. So this is the like the top part of it that's folded over, so it's a little bit thicker, and I'm just going to hot glue that on the top so it looks like the top of a mitten. And I'm going to go ahead and just glue that on with hot glue, and then I'm going to trim it to fit. And now I have just some little greenery. I bought this off of Amazon in like bulk amount, and I've used these so much because they're small, and there's so many things you can put them on, you know, because the size of them. So I go ahead and I just hot glued those on. And now I'm taking some snow crystal paste by Pen Art and going over this, just adding snow to it. I don't know, they already had snow on it. I probably put too much, but you know, hey, I'm going to go ahead and do both of those. And after that, I go ahead and put some just plain old crystal paste, which is, it's clear. It looks like it goes on white, but it actually is clear. And after that, it comes with little holes in it, but I'm using my crocodile to make the hole a little bit bigger. And I'm going to go ahead and cover the blob of glue on the back that I did when I folded the tops of that greenery over. And then I'm just going to tie some twine on the back of it, through the holes for a hanger. And that's it, guys. I think they turned out really cute. Alright, project number 2 is another wood piece. I bought these on Amazon, and they're already cut out pieces. You could definitely do this with scrap wood. And now what I'm doing is I am using some recycled papers, and these come basically the two different styles I'm showing you come on one sheet. And I'm going to go ahead and just use some Pen Art Decoupage glue to glue this down. I've cut the two pieces apart. It's one big sheet and you cut it apart. And I'm going to go ahead and just put that glue all over. A generous amount because we're going into raw wood and it will absorb some of it. And I'm just going to go ahead and cover the whole thing, and then I'm just going to go ahead and put my decoupage paper on. And obviously there's more than what we need here, but I'm trying to get a lot of the words centered on there. I know we're going to be cutting off a lot of it, but I do want a good portion of those words to show up in the middle. I'm spritzing it with water. I don't do it on rice paper, but when I'm doing tissue paper, which this is, I do think that helps it lay flat and stretch, and basically you won't have as much wrinkling. And then I'm just going to go cut around and get a bulk of the extra paper off of there, and save it because we will use that at another time in another project. This is perfect. This has the look of burlap, so this would be really, really good in any type of mixed media project. So now I'm going to go over the top with that same Pen Art Decoupage glue and varnish. I really love this stuff for a top coat. It has a little bit of a sheen when you're done to it, and it definitely protects your surface really well, so you don't have to do anything else to it. I go ahead and use my heat gun to dry it, because that does eliminate a lot of bubbles. Now I'm going to go ahead and do the other one. I'm using the other side of that same decoupage paper, and make sure I put a good amount on. When you're using raw wood, you want to make sure that you put a good amount on there, because it will absorb into that wood. And here's the other piece. Like I said, this is one big piece, but it has two different designs on it. And I'm going to go ahead and spray that again. And then also, you can see the crease in there. That'll help get the crease out. I just take a plastic baggie. Your hands, believe it or not, are coarse, and that baggie will glide and not rub and rip your paper. So then again, I'm going to go ahead and take that same decoupage glue and varnish and go over the whole thing and do the same process and use my heat gun. If there's any pieces not going down, I make sure I add more glue. And I like using my heat gun. It does get rid of any bubbles or anything you have. But whenever I use tissue paper, I take some parchment paper like I'm doing here, and I go over it with my little tiny iron, and that definitely makes all of any bubbles or anything release. I don't usually do that when I'm using rice paper, because it doesn't really wrinkle very much, but tissue paper will. So when it's completely dry, I just take my finger sander, and I'm going to go ahead and sand all the way around and get the edges completely off and straightened out. There's one little piece on the left one where I was sanding and it went ahead and tore it a little bit, but that's okay. We're taking Van Dyke Brown by Paint Couture. It's just a glaze, and we're going to go all the way around the edges on these, and it's going to go ahead and blend in. I'm not trying to do it perfectly. I want to make it just kind of a random all the way around. I'm using a wipe to wipe back if I have too much, and I'm going to do that on both of them. I'm going to take that same Van Dyke Brown, and I'm going to go across the back of these. I'm using it as a stain. I love using these glazes as a stain. It's so much easier than an oil-based product. This is a water-based product, so it goes on really easy and wipes back off. I wipe a majority of it off. I make sure I go around the sides as well. And now I'm going to make sure that I go all the way around the edges and add a little bit more. I did it before, but I'm adding a little extra. And I'm going to do the same thing to the other piece. So now what I'm doing is I am just taking some hot glue, and I'm going to go all the way across the top. And I'm using pieces, those same pieces of that blanket that I had cut apart. And I'm just going to go all the way across the top, take that extra glue off, and I'll trim it to fit on top. So now what I'm going to do is I am going to drill a hole in this little top hanger portion here. You could put like a little hook hanger on the back of it, but I'm going to just put some rope through it. So I'm going to do the same thing on both. I'm just going to drill a hole through both of them. Now I'm just taking a little hot glue and putting it on the end of my little rope, and I'm going to just tie it through there and tie a knot on top, and that's what I'm going to do on both of them. Now that I've done that, I'm going to go ahead and put my greenery. I'm going to use that same greenery that I used on the little mittens, only I'm going to use 2 of them this time, and kind of crisscross them and have them go across the top. I trimmed them up a little bit, and I'm just going to glue them on with hot glue. But I I decide that I want to add more of this little blanket stuff on there. And if you notice on these, there's a little indentation on the top. And I want this to go all the way down to that. You see there, you can see where the top ends. So I'm going to go ahead and add that. I think it will look better. And I'm just kind of adding it to what I already have there. You really won't notice that there's two separate pieces. And I'm going to add that to both of them. So of course I'm adding snow crystal paste to these. I don't know. I'm just carried away with the snow. Anyway, I'm going to do that on both of them, and we're going to add something to the middle in a minute. So now I've just got, these are just some ribbon. I think I got this from Factory Direct Crafts. Both of them. I'm not positive. I think that's where I got them. And I just make 2 awareness bows and put some rusty wire to tie them together. I glue them in the middle. Make sure I get the pieces going the way that I want them to. And now I just wire together 2 rusty bells. And I'm going to put that in the middle of the bows. And that's it. I think they turned out really super cute. So projects number 3 and 4 kind of go together. I got these skates from a garage sale, and I paid $4 for this set of 2 of them. So I actually have 4 skates for $4. But what I'm doing is I am painting this both of these skates with Fusion's Highlander, which is a beautiful, beautiful red for Christmas. And because Fusion has a primer and a top coat, I'm not going to have to do anything else to them. This takes about 2.5 coats. Basically 2 and then like just touch up. And I go over both of these, and I just go over everything. And if I get any where I don't want it, I just use a wipe and wipe it off. And I'm going over the eyelets and everything with it. It'll stick. And so I'm going to go ahead and go 1 full coat on each, let it dry, and then go ahead and come back in with another coat, let that dry, and then do just some touch up. So after I've done that, I am using Pent Art Rust Patina, and it is basically 4 different colors with a texture additive, which is like sand. And I'm going to put those colors on my parchment paper, and I'm going to put a little bit of that texture in each one. The texture, it's a makes it look more like rust, because rust has, you know, a little bit of texture to it. And I just kind of mix all that in. I use the same brush most of the time. I'm going to mix these all up, and then I'm going to go ahead and I am going to rust the blades. And I just usually I start with the dark color first, and then I add the lighter colors on. I will sometimes, for the lighter colors, go ahead and use a different brush so I don't get it mixed up too much. But anyway, I'm going to go around and do both skates with this, and just try and cover the blades on both sides. And if I get any up on the top, I just take a wipe and wipe. And I'm going to do this to both skates on both sides. So I'm purposely going over that black portion with some of the brown paint, just because I don't want it to look so new. And I make sure I fill in everything and let it dry. And now I'm looking through several of my IOD transfer books. These are some older ones from last year and even before that. Yuletide, Candy Cane Cottage, and Crimson Velvet. This is part of Candy Cane Cottage, and I'm going to go ahead. There's these 4 little grouping of roses, and I'm going to be putting those on here. I wanted something that would give it kind of a hand-painted look to it, and show up on these. And I really was having a hard time deciding what I was going to use. And I really am very, very happy. I just went through all my old stuff and just pieced a lot of different things together from a lot of different transfer sets. And you can definitely do that. I find a lot, the colors and the style tend to match quite a bit. Not that it needs to be perfectly matched. So it goes on very easily, and all you do is take the backing off and use your transfer stick and rub it on. And believe it or not, they go on super, super easy. It is curved, so it's a little tricky, but actually not that much at all. And transfers go on Fusion Paint amazingly well, so that does help. And they're going to go on really easy. And I'm just burnishing these with my finger because it's curved. And I'm going to do that all over on. There's like 4 of the little flowers, and they're different, but there's two with the little white roses, and then 2 with the pink. And so I'm kind of matching where I put them. I'm going to do that on these, and then we're going to add some other things to this. So I'm getting my Yuletide out, and I actually have parts of 2 sets, and I have 2 matching fairies in because they have some fairies in it. And I got one from one book and one from the other. And I am going to put some fairies on the tongue of these skates. You're not going to see much of it, but I thought, why not? I'm trying really, really hard to actually force myself to use these beautiful transfer sets. I tend to hoard them, and I'm just not going to do that anymore. And y'all shouldn't either. I do think I might have a few of these in stock. I purchased some last year after I ran out, so they are what I paid retail. But I think I have some Crimson Velvet, and I may have 1 or 2 Yuletides, and I may have 1 Candy Cane Cottage. I'm not positive. Anyway, yeah, use them up, guys. Now this did not transfer well, And I'm just showing you what I'm doing is I am just taking some paint. This is some Fusion paint. And I'm going to go ahead, and the part that did not transfer, and then it just because it was bent, it cracked off. And I just filled it in with paint. And I do that all the time when that kind of stuff happens. And now I'm taking just some pieces. I think this is of Crimson Velvet. And I'm going to go ahead and put some right at the tip. And then I'm going to find some little pieces and put them on the sides. And just kind of fill in wherever I think I want to add a few extra pieces. And I'm just kind of cutting them out. Similar sizes. They don't have to be perfectly the same. And going in and just adding little pieces where I think it needs just a little bit more added to it. Now I'm just adding this piece to the back. It really was very, very easy to add this on there. And now I'm taking Extreme Guard Satin by Paint Couture. And I am going to go over the skates. And then I just tied some twine in where the laces would be. And so now we're moving into project number 4, which goes with the skates. And I am taking Fusion's Tough Coat Matte, and I am going over this piece of wood. It's just some extra wood that we have from making shelves. And I'm going to go ahead and let that dry, and then I'm going to go over it with Highlander by Fusion. It's the same color that we used on the skates. And I'm going to go just one coat with that front and back, and I'm going to let that dry completely. While that is drying, I'm going to go ahead and mix up some milk paint. And this is Creamy by Sweet Pickins. And it's equal parts powder to water. And you mix it up. Now I put a little extra powder in there because I want it to be kind of thick. So I'm going to go ahead and mix that up really well and let that sit for about 10 minutes before I use it. And what I'm going to do now is I have Sweet Pickins milk paint. This is their crackle medium. I'm pouring that in a separate container. And I am going over this board with this crackle medium. And you don't want to go back and forth really. You just want to put it on and get an even amount all the way across. And let that dry. And it dries shiny. So you kind of have to just, make sure it's dry to the touch. And believe it or not, that is dry. It looks like it's not. It looks wet, but it is dry. And now I'm taking my milk paint and I am going over this. And the reason I did my milk paint so thick is when you use a crackle medium, you really shouldn't go back and forth because then it just pulls the paint off and makes big giant cracks. And you just want to go over it one time. That's why I did it kind of thick. And I'm going to go ahead and put that all the way on and then put it on the sides. And I'm going to use my heat gun to dry this. And you're going to see it gets really big cracks. Now you're going to get crackling a lot of times with your milk paint anyway. But I want this to have a very distressed look. And I want it to show the red underneath that Highlander. So you can see that it's very distressed, and it's not only going to have the cracks from the crackle medium, but it's going to have the crazing that you normally get with milk paint. Now I'm going to, on the back side, I did not put any of the crackle medium on it. This is simply the Highlander, and then I'm going to go over it with just the milk paint, and you're going to see the difference. It will have cracking and it will have crazing, but it's just going to be just the milk paint causing it and not the crackle medium. And part of the reason I did that, I wasn't sure which side I would want to use, and I thought, well, I'll just do it one way on one side and one on the other, and that way I can decide when I do it. So I put a second coat on, and again I'm using my heat gun, and so you can see what it looks like with two coats. And I patched that one little part there because it had like a really big crack in it. Now I did go back on this side, and I went ahead and filled in some of the really big spots, and I did that because of what we're going to do next. I kind of didn't want some of the big cracks in there, but I figured I'd go ahead and let both sides dry and then decide. And now that it's all dried, I'm just taking some a sanding block and going over this and getting off any loose paint. And I'm also doing a little extra distressing on the edges. I want this to be pretty distressed. And I'm still not 100% sure which side I'm going to use. I'm really debating. I'm just afraid that the process won't show up on the overly crackly side. But I end up deciding to go ahead and do it on that side, because I kind of figured, well, if it doesn't work out, I can always turn it over. Anyway, I'm sanding off any of the extra paint, and then I'm also going over the edges. If it goes down to the wood, that's okay, but mainly it's going to go ahead and chip off the extra paint and go down to the red, which is kind of what I want. So after that's done, I'm going to set that aside, and I am taking cast iron by Fusion. I'm going to mix that up with a little bit of salt wash, and the reason I do that is I am basically making my own paste to go ahead and go over this stencil. I like to use it as a stencil paste. I rather do that than just the chalk paint. And I have this wonderful stencil. I bought this off of Amazon quite a few years ago. I'm not sure if you can still get it. And it is basically a stencil that you can use a stencil brush with it, but it has it's a mesh stencil, and the best way to use it is with this rubber stencil tool. So you just peel off the backing. It has like a plastic backing, and we're gonna just line that up. I line it up with the top, and it has a sticky back to it, which is wonderful for using for doing stencils. I love mesh stencils; they're my absolute favorite. And I'm going to use this rubber stencil. I don't know if you call it a brush tool, and I'm just going to go ahead and take the stencil paste that I made, and I'm going to go ahead and just wipe it on and make sure it goes through anywhere there's an opening. And it's super easy to do. It works every time, and like I said, you can use a stencil brush, but this is a lot easier, and I think it works really well. And again, I got the tools off of Amazon as well. And then you just lift it up, and look how amazing that looks. So you want to make sure that you rinse off your stencil right away, and then put it right back on the backing, and you can use it for another day. And now what I'm doing is I'm finding the center and drilling a hole right in the center. I'm going to be putting a little hanger on there. It's actually a knob that I got at Hobby Lobby in their clearance aisle for about $1.48. And I went ahead and sprayed a clear glaze that I put on there. I take 50-50 clear glaze and water, put in a spray. I did that on both sides, let it dry. And now I'm taking Sweet Pickens dark wax, and I put it on the back, let it dry, not dry, let it sit for 10 minutes and then wiped it off. And that's going to give this a more vintage look. And I'm going to do the same thing. I love the dark oil wax. It really does show all of the cracking and crazing, and it gives it a very vintage look to it. And the reason I put that clear coat on and let it dry before I did this is I didn't want my white paint to turn too dark, and I didn't want it to absorb too much of that oil wax. So basically it acts as a barrier. And now I'm going to put my little piece on that you put on to, I'm going to basically hang my skates from this knob. So I'm going to put that in there, and it does obscure the hole a little bit, but that's okay. I could have put a little bit lower, but I was afraid that it would split the wood if I went down too low. So I love how that looks. I think it turned out great. It's in the perfect spot. And now what I'm going to do is I am going to make a bow that I am not exactly sure where I'm going to put it. I bought this ribbon ages ago. I think I've had it in my stash for 4 or 5 years. I absolutely love it. I'm not sure where I got it, honestly. I really don't know where I got it. I may have gotten it at Hobby Lobby. I don't know. But anyway, I'm cutting off a piece, and I'm just going to make just one awareness bow with really long tails. And I'm going to use some wire to twist it in the middle. And once I do that, I'm going to try and figure out where I want to put that. Now what I'm doing is I'm just cutting some foam that I got from the Dollar Tree. And I'm going to put it inside the skates. And I'm going to just cut up some different greenery. These are different picks that I bought. I think I got most of these at Joann's. I was really lucky last year. I just kind of walked in there before they closed, and they had a lot of Christmas picks and stuff for like 80% off. And anyway, I'm cutting these apart, and I'm just going to take different pieces and kind of shove them in there. I'm not gluing anything in. I do add some glue to the foam later, but I just kind of want to get an idea of where I want things before I do anything permanently. I'm not gluing the foam inside the skates, although I don't think anybody would use these skates for anything other than decorative now, but I didn't put the glue inside. So I kind of play with it until I can get some arrangements that I like. And I can just pull this foam out later when I mess with it and just add, like I said, just some different picks. I take those out and I drill a hole in the back of each skate, and I'm doing that so I can put some cording through and tie a knot so we can hang the skates. And now I'm just taking some snow crystal paste and going over these. And after I do that, I pretty much just drill a hole through the top of my sign for a hanger. And that's it, guys. I love how this turned out. This is hanging on my door. This is without the bow. I really love this, guys. I love the stencil, and I love how the skates turned out. Anyway, this is how it looks on my door. And this is with an antique sled that I purchased for $10. And yeah, this is what I made it for. It's for me. And it's here it is with the bow. So here's our Winston update. Thank you guys for all your prayers. Winston made it, barely. His heart stopped for 5 minutes and they restarted it, and he's still with us. It was a major surgery, and he made it, and he's still with us and doing really good. And we love him so much, and thank you guys for all your prayers. Anyway, we're moving on to project number 5. This is just a really quick flip. I have a ton of frames. If you've been watching my channel at all, you know that I do. And I've got to throw in something with the frame every now and then, guys. I just have to, because I've got a lot of frames. Anyway, this is a frame I thrifted. It's probably honestly cost me 23 cents. I think that's what we figured out around what I paid for all those frames. Anyway, I am taking double-sided tape and I am covering this piece of foam board that I got from Dollar Tree that I cut to fit the back of the frame. And it is my new favorite way of adding canvases to foam board or backer board or whatever, because it doesn't bubble. It turns out perfect every time. Yeah. Anyway, so I just use double-sided tape. That is my new way of doing it. Super easy to do. You just put your canvas on, cut it to fit, pop it back in, and yeah. So now what I'm doing is I'm going over this, and I am using Pent Art Heavy Body Gel. I like doing this with a crosshatch motion, and what that does when it dries is it makes it look like it's an oil painting with brush strokes. Just to add a little touch. I do that to my canvases. You can use other things. I like the Heavy Body Gel because it's a 3D product and it's thick. And it only takes one coat, and you definitely can see the strokes with just one coat. And then I tack it in with my little handy frame tacker, and I will take some hot glue and go over the back of this. And then I will just go ahead and put some paper on the back and sand it to get it off the back, and put a hanger, and that's it, guys. Super easy flip, super cute, and yeah, I love it. I love the way that Heavy Body Gel makes it look. Anyway, let me know what you think. That's it, guys. If you happen to need any IOD, Fusion, Pent Art, Paint Couture, Sweet Pickins Milk Paint, JRB, Recycled Papers, or Decoupage paper, you can get that on my website, rehashdesigns.com. And thank you for hanging out with me. I know this video is going out a little late, but we've had a busy week, especially with Winston, and I greatly appreciate all of your kind words and thoughts and prayers. And I am going to try to stick to my schedule, and I will have another video out on Wednesday. I may even have a bonus video. You guys take care. Bye-bye.